Welcome everyone to SEO Office Hours. My name is Michael Chidzey. I'm an SEO here at Good Signals. And part of what we do, along with special guests, are these office hour sessions where people can jump in and ask their questions around their website and web search. By the way, nobody here is in the hot seat and we might not know all the answers, but multiple heads thinking about a problem should help. We've had a bunch of questions submitted, as you can see, which we'll go through. But if there's anybody here live on the call who would like to ask any questions, feel free to flag yourself in the chat functionality, which will be monitored. Also, there's usually a bunch of other amazing SEOs on the call who share their ideas, experiences, and perspectives. And I think that's one of the best things about office hours, not just hearing from the four of us, but also everybody else contributing. So please continue to do that. And you may have noticed Joe's not with us this week. So instead, we have David. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us. Today is our 61st episode of SEO Office Hours. Hello, everyone in the chat. Hello, Preeti, Sandeep, Natalia, Neil, a lot of note-takings AI. Thank you, Daniel, for coming in. Thank you. We have a very international audience today from Barcelona, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. So please keep telling us where you are from today. And for those who don't know me, I'm David. And as someone said, I'm the best SEO consultant, at least in this room. I hope my dog doesn't get in. But we have two special guests today, Mordy and Folashade. We'll start with Folashade Uba. Is an SEO analyst at AP Moller Maersk, an integrated transport and logistic company with approximately 110,000 employees across operations in 130 countries. She specializes in digital experience and has a strong background in optimizing web performance and driving strategic growth across diverse industries, including retail, logistics, and technology. Folashade holds a master's degree in digital marketing and is passionate about continuous learning and networking. She has participated in major events such as Brighton SEO, where she has delivered talks on leveraging customer insight for SEO and optimizing content using machine learning. And she will be speaking again at Brighton SEO this April. Her talk will be from reactive to predictive, using machine learning to anticipate customer search behavior. I must tell you, Folashade, I'm doing this totally afraid. Am I doing it right? And welcome.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you so much, David.
You're welcome. And we have Mordy Oberstein. Mordy is the founder of Unify, a brand development consultancy. He's also the head of SEO brand at Wix and a communication advisor for SEMrush. Mordy has spent a decade on both the brand and performance sides of marketing and has been the driving force behind some of the most recognized and successful rebrandings in the digital marketing space, blending together a unique set of experience in brand development, content strategy, SEO, and communications. Mordy has worked to position some of the world's most recognized brands for success. And two interesting facts about him: when you search for him on Google, you can see his pictures in the search box. And also, he thinks the best SEO tool is Grammarly. Mordy?
Only because Bing's AI told me that. Also, that summary, AI could not have written it better itself.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me, by the way. I'm self-deprecating, so it's hard for me to take compliments.
Okay, should we go for it? Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to those who are watching live and watching afterwards on YouTube. Let's get cracking. I messed everything up when I threw all the questions in the air. I had them planned before that I went, we've got a bunch of questions submitted and they're a bit everywhere, but that's okay. We'll start with a quick one. I think this is a quick one. Is it still important to include the company name in all title tags? Ours is quite long, which I'm assuming is the company name, and takes up most of the visible space. But who would kick off? Go for it, Folashade.
Okay, so I think that question depends on the company. If you're not such a big company at the moment, you can actually think of putting more of your keywords first and put your company name after. I think it's important to focus on that primary keyword first. But if you are a big company, I see why that could be a problem. But I think that it's important to focus on that keyword first and also put your company's name after. So it could be short, It might not completely copy or cover all the space, which I think is about 60 words. So I would advise that you focus on that keyword first. And I don't really think that you get penalized for that. And another thing you could do is have that in your meta description. Although it doesn't drive ranking, but it has some sort of good effect on your page as well. You can have the company name in your meta description. Yeah, I think it helps the CTA. So yeah, I understand. But yeah, that's my advice for that person at the moment.
Great idea with putting it in the meta descriptions there. Mordy, have you got anything to add?
Oh, no, I think you should invest in a really long business name so that it takes up the entire title tag so that there's no actual value for the client to click from the SERP. That's sarcastic, by the way. It's a click. You're thinking about ranking a page. The title tag is like one tiny part of that ranking equation. It's about getting a click. So if there's no value for the user to go to the web page, you might get the impression, but how are you going to get a click if the entire thing is your brand name? That sounds a little narcissistic to me.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, if you've got a really long brand name, I think it's only really relevant to say your homepage for those pages that you want to serve when somebody searches for your brand. So your homepage, maybe your About Us page, maybe your careers page, like those that you need brand traffic for. I think if you've got offer products and services, like Folashade was saying, I would probably go with what your primary keywords are over that. David, do you have anything to add, or is there anything in the chat?
Yeah, I think we have some interesting answers here in the chat. For example, Natalia says, I always check if Google decides to rewrite the titles. If it does, it's an indication that titles could be improved on. And Favor says, I think it depends on how to get the best of the word in real estate and its relevance to search results. And I would like to say thank you to those watching the recording. And if you want to join us live, then head over to the Good Signals website to get the invites for SEO office hours and add it to your calendar, where you can submit also your questions and watch previous episode. I will put the link now in the chat too.
Amazing. Great. Okay, let's go straight on to the next question. Okay, this is quite a beefy one, so bear with. We'll put it in the chat as well. So, hang on. Background to my questions. Lately, I keep seeing everywhere that if you want to do well in SEO, you need to build a brand. It gets talked about all the time, but no one ever really explains what that actually looks like in the context of SEO, especially when you're a small business like ours, when everything's tight and you don't have the budget for a branding agency or someone in-house to take care of it. A little bit about us. We run an online store selling stylish kids' clothes, making it easy for busy parents to get their gorgeous outfits delivered straight to their door. Profit margins are already tight, but we're doing everything we can: social, ads, content. More people are searching for our brand than they were 2 years ago, but we're hardly a household name. We've grown our SEO traffic for our product ranges like kids leggings, denim, and baby wear, but we keep hearing that in the future, bigger, more recognizable brands will get most of the SEO traffic. So my question, how do we increase awareness without a massive budget, but in a way that will genuinely help our SEO? Mordy, you're nodding. Are you happy to jump in on this one? We'll start.
Yeah, it's what I do for a living. I think so. For the first thing I want to, there's so many points to talk about. First, the idea that you are a small business and therefore you can't have a brand, you can't compete with a big brand, is absolutely not true. There's unique advantages to bigger brands and there's unique advantages to smaller brands. Big brands, they often get stuck. It's very hard for them to make changes. It's hard to pivot. It's hard to capitalize on new trends. Smaller businesses, and there's 3 parts to it. There's 3 parts to the brand that you need to focus on. And I by the way, I feel your pain, because I hear everybody screaming about in the SEO space brand, but then how do you actually do it? And no one talks about that. Or I see like really bad articles about like, yeah, optimize what people also ask. How do you optimize what people also ask? It's your brand. By the way, if you Google Reebok, one of the PA questions that shows up, because I'm writing an article about this, is why is Reebok like a bad brand right now? Or something like, why is it lost its popularity? Like, there's no way to optimize that other than having a good brand. There's 3 core things to focus on. One is your brand identity, one is positioning, and the other one is messaging. Okay, what inevitably happens, and by the way, there's a bigger problem with bigger brands, is that they end up focusing on messaging because you have to have messaging. But I'm a social media team. I have to say something, so they have messaging. But I'll bet you $1 million. You ask, I don't know, 500 of the top 500 companies in the Fortune 500 companies, 499 of them, their social media teams will have no idea what their brand positioning is. They'll just know the messaging. You have to, and this is where you, by the way, as a small business, have the opportunities to succeed, because identity is, it's like anything else. It's tapping into who you are, right? And once you tap into who you are with a little bit of depth, and what I mean by depth is there's so much to talk about. I don't want to hog the mic, so I'll try to wrap it up really quickly. When I talk about depth, there's two parts of this. So there's two ways of looking at this. We have human emotions, okay? Certain emotions are transient and surface-like, and other emotions are much deeper and more integral and existential. So for example, fun. I don't need to have fun today, right? I don't need to have fun tomorrow. I probably won't have fun tomorrow. What I do need is things like joy or connection. Those are things that are integral to my everyday experience. So when you're thinking about who you are as a brand, try to think about it with a little bit of emotional depth. Okay, the next thing you want to do is, okay, so if we're this, if we're X, and this is who we are, who's our audience? And brands don't like, by the way, big brands don't like doing this because they feel it pigeonholes them, which is not true. Who are you for? Who does that actually speak to? And now you need to start thinking about that person or that audience's actual life context. Like I'll give you the example of minivans. Okay, if someone who owns a minivan, my life context as a minivan owner is pain and struggle. My kids don't appreciate it. I'm schlepping them around town all the time. My life is pain. Okay, and the minivan company, I told us yesterday on LinkedIn, never lean into this. If you can slide into your audience's life with something that actually speaks to them based on who you are, we call that positioning. Right? Now, once you know the positioning, the messaging should be really simple, right? Don't struggle so much. Get our minivan, whatever it is. All of that leads to resonance. And if you resonate, and if you have the ability to connect, now your performance increases. Now people are linking to you. You don't have to buy as many backlinks. But now they'll do a branded search for you. That's a signal to Google. You don't have to pay for as many discovery keywords. People are now seeking you out and coming to you. All of that leans into performance. All right. Can I pitch myself? Am I allowed to do that on the show?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Please do. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah. If you are an SMB, I have a starter package just for this, $1,500. I'll go through all of it and give you a direction forward. Unifiedbrandmarketing.com. I'm done selling myself. I'm done talking. I'm muting my.
Oh, no, that's great. And maybe you could put a link in the chat as well. That would be cool.
Yeah,
do you have anything to add?
I can go next. Yeah, I actually agree with what Molly said. So I think that it's important to know your customers' pain points. You're doing the right thing already, trying to put yourself, trying to put your brand, but at times it takes a while for this brand to actually pick up. It's good that you've started it, right? Just continue, create high quality content, answer questions that your customer or your audience are really looking for, right? Answer those questions. Then also you're already on socials, you're already on social media, you have lots of followers, you have people there. So always try to, if you run ads, try to link it to your web page. But also when you link it to your web page, make sure that page they're landing on is close or it's quite similar to the social media page they're coming from, right? So that there's this synergy in the story, right? Also, another thing you can do is use the user-generated content, right? Keep building authenticity and trust, and let your customers trust you. At times, it could take a bit of time. Put testimonials on your web page, have reviews on your web page. You can even build your local SEO as well. If you're still a small business, think about that. You don't have to spend so much money. Make sure that the keywords that you have are also like relating to your location base. You don't have to spend so much money to do things like that. Being charity events, being communities, just continue doing what you're doing. It takes time at times for that brand to catch up. But another thing I would say is use your data and analytics. If you've been around for 2 years, you obviously have some sort of data, right? Look at it, look at what customer, look at the queries that you've been getting, look at your feedback forms, right? Use that on your landing page or on your web page. Make sure that you're answering those questions that customers are looking for. Get testimonials. So if you've been around for 2 years, you already have some sort of customers. So try to use that. Get testimonials, get reviews. You can tell them to do user-generated content. Have those videos as well. Like the videos that had a lot of likes on your socials, you can also have that on your web page so that there's this connection, there's this synergy. People really understand what you're talking about. And I think that it just takes a bit of time, but you just continue doing what you're doing. You're on the right track.
Great. David, do you have any thoughts?
I don't know if I can add anything after our guess, but we have some answers here in the chat. For example, Ryan says, take advantage of being that smaller brand too. Lots of customer service state that customers do prefer to buy from smaller brands rather than big name brands. Take advantage of it in your marketing. Use the fact that you are a small business. Nothing wrong with being a smaller brand in a world of big players, in my opinion. We have here too, Caroles, I think social media is a great place to start with for awareness. And Natalia, it seems like this answer is way bigger than SEO.
The answers were brilliant, but I totally get the question, because you do hear this as a recommendation all the time. In fact, even on office hours, we hear every week people say what you've got to do is build a brand, and then we don't actually go into it. So it has been really good to hear from you guys. I think I'm not a branding expert, so I don't want to claim I am. I think the one thing I have noticed though is I feel like when people think about brand, they think about spending a lot of money on stuff like design. And I don't necessarily think, it's particularly for a small business, that doesn't feel like that isn't the only way, or that's not necessarily the right way. And I think what Mordy was saying about really thinking about the customer and their pain points, and actually how you make their lives better, and making sure your product or service is better than what else is out there. And I guess it's how you make them feel, the actual customer themselves. I'm sorry, this doesn't translate necessarily to really SEO actionable tactics that we usually have, but just try and think about what, from our perspective, it's trying to do all the right things that's helpful to our customers and people that come across us. And sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong, but we don't have a lot of money to spend on big branding agencies and so on. So we kind of test and iterate and see what resonates with people and what doesn't. Mordy, did you want to come back in at all? I could see you were nodding, but totally fine if you don't, because this is
No,
your
I threw
area.
it in the chat, so I wouldn't waste any more time.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, cool. I thought way more about this stuff than me, so I was happy to pass it.
Jake, it's so true. It's how the brand industry functions, and it's a little bit of misleading. But I threw it in the chat. We could.
Yeah,
I'm not hogging the mic.
I remember when I started this business and I was leaving a job. I had no money to start it, and I went to a branding agency just to get an idea of how much they charge. And it was something like 25 grand just for a logo. And I was like, do you know what? I think I'm going to try and work this thing out myself. So
it's crazy. Yeah, he's at school. You want to say hi to everybody? No? Okay. You want to say hi? Okay, here. Sorry, my kids found me. I was hiding. Okay.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Okay. I'm going to mute. I'll throw my answer in the chat.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's just jump to the next question. We're going to go, well, there's so many. Okay, let's do this one. Yeah, let's go with this one. So thoughts on distinguishing misleading or ineffective SEO marketing companies from reputable ones? Who's got some thoughts on this one? How do you work out the difference between a good agency or an ineffective one? I'm going to put freelancers there as well, because there's some freelancers on the call, so feel free to put your thoughts. David, how would you like to start with this one?
I think a good way to distinguish would be ask for reference. Maybe you can ask them like a portfolio, or just talk to them and ask your colleagues if they have any recommendations, or someone has worked with them, with the agency or the freelance. Maybe you can start that way.
Great. Folashade, do you have any thoughts on how to tell between a good agency and maybe one that's not going to be effective?
I agree with what David said. I think Petty also put shady backlinks, which is true. But also referrals, I would say, makes the difference. Like, I would like to use an agency that someone has used and got results if I was in that position. Nothing much. Yeah.
Great. Sorry, I just saw what's been put in the chat. Well, any thoughts? How do you tell between a great agency and one that's not going to be effective at all?
It's like a personal thing with me. Maybe it won't resonate for everybody, or what your business is looking for. It depends, but I generally look, if it's very linear and if it's very unholistic as an approach, I just find that so outdated. And it probably means that agency is looking to earn a lot of money as quickly as possible. Is that a hot take?
Yep, that's good. David, do we have anything in the chat?
Yeah, I think we had the first "it depends" of the call, so we are talking about SEO. That's good. Natalia says, for example, check what results they promise. The more specific promises, the worse. none in their right mind can promise organic traffic growth in 1 or 3 months. And we have here from John, the ones with the most AI images on their website definitely know how to use technology. That's a good call.
I think someone put that when they say it depends on for the first 23 minutes.
Okay, so this question came in, I think it was this morning or late last night. And David, if you share it in the chat, because it's got a URL, which I won't share on YouTube, but I'll share for the people live. Okay, so I'm basically starting to work on SEO for this company, which we're about to share, which is launching soon. The site has multiple location pages that need optimization. My goal is to optimize the overall website and then create specific location-based content. However, there are 2 Safari locations in Africa that target the same audience and use the same keywords. My initial idea is to avoid keyword cannibalization and to use a different set of keywords for each location. But I was wondering if there are other effective strategies I might not have considered yet. Any suggestions? Question mark. Great, you've got it in the chat. This came through really late. So did anybody get a chance to have a look at the website or URL, or if you've got any thoughts on it? Because if not, we can hold it, let everybody have a chance to have a look, and we'll jump on another question and come back to it. Let's do that. Okay, cool. Next question is, goodness, sorry, we've got so many here. Here we go. There's a lot of talk at the moment about AI taking clicks away from listings in the SERP, LLMs being the future of getting traffic from the web, and brand becoming more important than ever. Hey, we had that a moment ago. More important than ever. I'd be interested to know your thoughts as to where you see SEO heading for the rest of the year and maybe beyond. Do you think there's going to be more of an active focus about getting featured in LLM searches? Do you think AIOs are here to stay? How do you get buy-in for more brand-focused activities over traditional SEO jobs? Who would like to kick off on that one?
Wow.
Go for it, Mordy.
AIOs are here to stay because it's good for Google stock price. And John Mueller's here. I apologize for speaking truth to the power. By the way, them having now 60 links in them is equivalent to having 0 links in them. I did a study with SEMrush a while back showing like the URLs are actually relatively inconsistent. So depending on the keyword, obviously. The ranking power is interesting. I know Glenn Gabe found there was an interesting little hack that Glenn Gabe did. It wasn't a hack. It was sites that got manual actions can still show up in AIO reviews. So you could see any traffic that they were getting was coming from Google, was coming from the AIO review. And it was the CTR stunk, which is why I think Google won't show, again, if John is here, sorry. I think that's why Google won't show the Google Search Console data from the AIO reviews, because I don't think it's good. At the same time, like we're talking, so if you're talking about getting into AIO reviews, and that's the future, I don't know if that's necessarily the future. I think it's a wider question. Can I zoom out for a second?
Yes, go for it.
I think it's a question of what's the state of like the digital ecosystem overall, and it's constricting. There's so much, first of all, the algorithms are broken from social to search. All of them are just terrible right now. At the same time, there's so much noise. Like I'll just like my personal experience when I go on social media, I literally try to go on to find things to comment on because I don't like just posting. And it's just noise. I can't find anything. It's just noise after noise. And it's the same kind of thing happening on search. It's just noise at a certain point. So I had a medical condition. It's okay. I'm fine. I don't know, a couple of months ago. And I was Googling, what do I do with this? Like Dr. Google. My wife's a nurse. Just stop Googling it. Just go to the doctor. But I can't. And it was the same thing over and over again. I went to the Mayo Clinic, whatever, WebMD, same garbage, not garbage, same top level content. I had to go to Reddit, but that in itself was a challenge because you have to sift through the garbage and not garbage. It's really hard to find something that really speaks to you right now on the web. But at the same time, people aren't switching their strategies. What they're doing is continuing the same thing. It's like literally the definition of insanity. We'll just do more of it and hopefully it'll start clicking. But the problem is the more of it. It's so easy to spin up content. I think we're all caught on this drug of I can cast a wide net and bring in a lot of traffic and get a lot of impressions and get a lot of clicks and blah, 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 blah. Whereas people are looking for something a little more genuine, a little more resonant, and a little more connective. and the whole internet is constricting. So if you're looking at it like, how do I get into AIO reviews and how do I get, I think the most important thing to recognize in dealing with any of this stuff, I know it's a very general answer, I don't want to like, again, take up too much time, is to realize that things are about being more targeted now and less about casting this wide net.
Amazing. Folashade, do you have anything to add? Any additional thoughts?
Yeah, I think overviews are here to stay, just as Molly said. I think it's just to keep working around that. But another thing I've really figured out is you always need to think about the user's intent. That helps you go a long way. But also giving content, have context relating to your users, right? But also another thing I wanted to say is, yes, AI overviews are more around informational keywords and stuff. What if you thought about using it for keywords that are almost transactional? If you've had some sort of focus on that as well as just informational keywords for your website, think about also investing in keywords that are transactional as well. Create pages like that and interlink them. Because most of the time, once people see the info, once they see the information they want, they don't click it. So I totally understand what you're saying, but also create pages that could help you get those transactional conversions with the keywords. So think about it from that perspective. But also the LLM things, it's also here to say, I think I read an article some time ago that the results that you find on Google are quite different from what you find on ChatGPT or Perplexity. So you could take a bit of research to really understand how you could rank on LLMs. But it's also interesting because I think they also use the conversational queries, user intent. So I think you take some time to research what comes up there if you want to appear there as well, and fine-tune that to your SEO strategy or to your content. Thanks.
David, do you have any thoughts or is there anything in the chat?
We have a few answers. For example, Natalia says, it seems that AI impressions wouldn't usually convert anyway, most of the times. So I'm not worried. We'll probably lose some blog traffic, but not business traffic. And Ryan says, this would be my take on it as well, as he agrees with Natalia. AIs are going to be very useful, maybe for that very top of the funnel informational traffic. I've been looking at doing stuff to get featured on those AIOs as a brand, maybe not even with a link. So you can build that product and brand knowledge before a user gets further along the funnel. And John, we have here one thing that makes this hard is that people are very emotional about AI nowadays. It's hard to separate your own feelings from what the average user does. It's probably very insightful to do real user studies. How do your users actually use the web and try to learn things? That's a good take.
Can I just add one thing to all this like AI overview question stuff thing?
Yeah.
I look like Google like a moth. John, you're not a moth, you're a butterfly to me. It's the trick, moths are ugly and like whatever. It's attracted to whatever has the biggest digital presence, the biggest digital light. So building up, Brittany Muller said it well, I thought on LinkedIn, mentions are the new backlinks. Building up that brand presence, being out there and giving something Google to focus on. Because if you're talking about an LLM trying to recognize what's a relevant entity to a particular query, it's scouring the web, I'm oversimplifying this, and it's bringing it all back in and trying to spit it back out. If you're all over the web, it's going to be pretty hard for it to miss you, I would hope.
Amazing. Great. Incredible answers. I get the one bit that I wanted to pick up on was where do you see SEO heading for the rest of the year and about our jobs as SEOs and what that could look like. And I guess it's so hard to predict because obviously this time last year we had ChatGPT became available to the masses, and then all of a sudden that changed how people do things in terms of processes. It meant that so many people created really bad content and started throwing it up on the web everywhere. And as time's gone on, it's changed things. But my point was, if in January I'd been coming up with a strategy for a client, actually the way we do things is a bit different now in terms of being more efficient and so on, not just filling the web full of ChatGPT content, but I just mean things are changing so quickly. And I think our priority has basically been to try and stay ahead of what is changing and what's happening and go out there and test it and play with these different technologies that's available. And I think, can I use this to be a better answer on the internet, for example, or could I use this to create a better experience for my clients' customers. So I think it's so hard to predict what the future will look like because there's so many people creating the future as we speak. But I've just, and I think there are some amazing newsletters and podcasts and so on that you can follow to just hear others' thoughts and interviews from those trying to change things. So sorry, that's a bit more general than just LLMs, but I think be careful also not to have a knee-jerk reaction and then really focus, rebrand yourself as an AI overview optimization expert. And I personally would think a little bit more generally and just have a play basically with all these new things and seeing what you can make work, because also that's a really fun part of the job. Did anybody else want to add anything else on this question before we go to the next one? Because you are welcome to. No? Okay, great. Next question. So can somebody explain how this website has been sitting at the top of Google for years for massive keywords like online poker? And they've shared a link with us, but if you'd mind sharing it, that'd be awesome. The website looks like it was built in the 90s. Has anybody got any ideas? So this sounds like somebody at the end of they're kind of obviously trying to beat this website. Did anybody get a chance to look at the website? Has anyone got any thoughts? Mordy, are you happy to go first? You're nodding.
First of all, how do I know why Google's ranking this website? I mean, I could speculate. I've seen something similar in the past with this, like a similar website that like focused on solitaire, which is a lost art form, I feel. And they had they were a legacy site. They've been around for a long time. It looks horrible, but there actually is a lot of content there, and it's not as horrible as the format might make it seem. So that's my guess. Do I think that should it be ranking? Probably not. Is it reasonable to expect that Google's going to get every single website ranking right? No. And if they're going to get it wrong, I guess I hope that it's poker, not heart attacks.
That's very true. Do you have any thoughts on this one? Did you get a chance to have a look?
Yeah, I was checking it earlier and I saw that I checked it on archive. So I saw the first snapshot we have from 2008. I was really funny, as I told you earlier, that they explain you how you can make this site your homepage with Internet Explorer and Mozilla Firefox. So yeah, it's a legacy site.
Great. Shade, any ideas why it ranked? I think they said #1 for terms like online poker.
No, I'm not sure. It looks really dodgy, and not sure why. It could be a legacy thing, like Molly said, really, but I'm not sure why it's still ranking #1.
So I had a theory. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I have here two answers I think it can be useful. Natalia, for example, says poker websites tend to be JavaScript heavy. It's refreshing to see such a light and fast site, so it can help. And Rob Young, it ranks because it likely works and delivers what user want, nothing more and nothing less, I imagine. I think the better question is, why shouldn't it?
That was basically going to be my take. But I had a look at it, and yes, it does look a bit 90s, which actually I quite liked. It was quite refreshing in a weird kind of way. It reminds me of SimCity, the very original one. But actually, one thing, I had a look at the alternatives, and the one thing I personally really liked about that one is you can play online poker straight away from that website. You don't have to sign up, you don't have to register, you don't have to do any of those things. There is a ton of content on there as well, just about how to play poker. That is a lot of that. But in terms of at the very top of the page, I'm guessing if you've typed in online poker, you probably want to play poker. And Rob said it does what it says on the tin. It basically allows you to play straight away. So that would be my feedback versus if you're trying to rank for these terms, but you're trying to get people registering and all that stuff. Does anybody else have anything before we jump on to the next one? No? Okay, cool. Is there a perfect formula for an SEO-friendly article or blog post? We're planning to relaunch our blog this year and thought this could serve as a helpful template. How long should these posts be, and what should this look like in practice? I've read plenty of studies and articles on this, but we'd love a clear format or layout to follow. We're fully committed to investing in quality content, and I don't have a website to share, but from their email address, it looks like they're a virtual health clinic, if that helps. So basically, Mordy, when you said earlier about needing to see somebody instead of Google, you could have, or ChatGPT could have spoken to somebody on at this clinic. Has anybody got any thoughts? Is there the perfect formula? Does anybody have that? Everybody's saying no.
No,
But actually, go for it.
I won't say that there's no perfect formula. I think one thing someone told me a while ago, especially someone that has been doing SEO, is regardless of how time has gone, the basics of SEO are still the same. Have the major things of SEO, your technical SEO, make sure that it's all good. Your on-page optimization, optimize no keyword stuffing and stuff. But also backlinks could help, relevant backlinks, not buying backlinks, of course. And obviously answering your users' questions, thinking of what their intents would be behind those queries and start putting the answers right there. Then also another thing I could say is if you're really thinking about having that perfect page, then put the query or the keyword you want people to find you on Google and do some competitor analysis to see what is ranking and try to apply that to your page. But there's no perfect. I won't say that there's a perfect list for that.
I'm going to push back a little bit. I think the perfect thing is to have a really generic H1, like the ultimate all-in-one tool kind of thing, some marketing copy right below it. That's really, it shouldn't be anywhere on the page explicitly that says what it is that you do or what the product is at all. You should really make the user kind of work for it for a bit, make them feel like they need to earn you, not you need to earn them. I think that's really the perfect formula for good content on the web. Because I only say that because that's what seems to be like the pervasive kind of content. So who am I to say that so many people are wrong?
Okay, David, do you have any thoughts, or is there anything in the chat?
I would say that we usually think about content only with like a blog post or article, but content is beyond, and we are seeing how the content is evolving with short videos or codes or tools. So we maybe have to think beyond that. And then in the chat, a lot of jokes directly like the perfect word count, keyword density, AI images and backlinks, for example. So pop-ups, of course, don't forget the pop-ups.
Can I say also, your content is your brand, right? Everything you do, everything you say is who you are. So think about how you want to be seen and reflect. Would you want to be seen as a template? That's like it's an existential question. Do I want to be seen as a template? Because if you're like, oh, I don't want. I want more pages per session. And if they go from one page to the next page and it all looks exactly the same, is that really what you want?
Yeah, exactly. John, for example, here was telling us before, fully committed to quality content, but we want templated content.
Okay, cool. So I agree with everybody that there isn't that perfect formula. I guess if Mordy was saying, if you want quite a generic blog, then you'll probably have this sort of fairly generic check. And I think particularly in healthcare, you need to be a real step up in terms of getting that expert advice and just making sure that people trust what you're writing and that you've got evidence and stats and data and so on. If it was me, rather than trying to plan out a 50-page blog strategy, instead I would start small and focus on doing some really good pieces that you're proud of. Because Mordy was saying, this is your brand. And once you do go live with them, I wouldn't stop there. I would keep improving them and making them better and just thinking of other ways that you can do that. And a good starting point in terms of proving that there isn't the perfect formula is, I'm sure if you pick the 10 topics, say, that you want to cover and you actually Google them, the likelihood is the format of what performs really well is totally different for each of those. So I would focus less on everything needing to look the same. Like a website template is fine, but to answer the question and be the best option on the internet, you need to be thinking, you need to look at what else is ranking, and you need to really answer the question properly and thinking about, going back to that branding question, thinking about what somebody actually wants when they're looking for this and how you can be the best option for that. So yeah, I'm personally not a fan of perfect formulas and perfect templates because they also date very quickly. So if you go down that route, say you found a blog post by somebody that's telling you the perfect formula, the chances are you're not the only reader. And I would just ignore that and focus on trying to publish the best content, and fewer pages but better, in my opinion, is better. David, is there anything else in the chat on this one?
Yeah, there are some. The chat is very active, so I'm really grateful. For example, here, John again, commodity content is a bad strategy unless you're already ranking first. And Francesca reminds us, stick to most important basics related to SEO and accessibility. Structure it right, clear heading, structure, good formatting, and right for users as much as the topic needs, but not force it to be a word count. And I just want to remind everyone that you can join us live if you go to godsignals.com/SEO office hours, and you can add it to your calendar, or you can just watch it later on YouTube. So thank you so much for everyone.
Great. Does anybody have any specific feedback to the question I asked earlier? Because we literally got that, I think, just before we came on, and they provided a URL, and I feel like it would be nice to give really useful feedback. So I'm tempted to push that back to next week and then whoever's on. But if anybody here would like to share anything on it, you're welcome to. Or are you happy to just jump to the next one?
I forgot the question.
They provided a URL. It was about location pages, but I just feel like on the fly, it's quite hard to think about things, particularly when we're given a URL, because we can dig deep into the pages. So I think...
Sorry, Mike, we have an answer here from Ryan in the chat.
Oh, great. Go for it.
He says, I would be asking if the site needs location pages for the two Safari location in Africa. Why not create one page targeting safaris in Africa and other keywords and topic within that, which I imagine is a pretty big market, and then use the fact that you have two locations as a bit of a value add. You can target one page and then show off the fact that you have multiple locations for user convenience. That would be my way of looking at it anyway. And Natalia said too, if it's not a competitive space, you might end up ranking twice with two of these URLs that seem to overlap. Rob said too, safaris are eligible for Google Things to Do, get in there early.
Amazing. Actually, Rob's told me quite a bit about Google Things to Do, and that definitely sounds like something worth investing some time in. My thoughts on the question, because one of the things was basically there are two other sites that basically target certain location keywords, and they're thinking, do we basically target another set of keywords so we don't compete? That's how I read it. And my feeling is that if they're writing content for certain keywords, they're probably the ones that are worth trying to rank for. But what I'll do is I'll push this question back to next week so that the panel have some time to look at it. I think Charlotte's on the call who submitted it. So Phil, hopefully we've given you enough to go on for now. Okay, look, well, we've got 10 minutes. Okay, oh goodness. We don't want to make office hours any longer, but it's just all the questions. Okay, this one, I'm managing the socials of a fashion brand and it's going viral on TikTok and Instagram Reels, driving thousands of visitors per day. However, organic rankings remain stagnant and social traffic doesn't seem to improve SEO. I've also noticed that social media visitors spend very little time on site and landing pages aren't optimized for search engines, lack of proper metadata, heading, structure, and internal links. I'm at a fix on how to convert social media traffic into engaged SEO-friendly visitors. And how can I create dedicated SEO optimized landing pages for social users? And how can I track the impact of social SEO? And finally, is it a good idea to add viral TikTok videos to blog content in order to improve engagement and rankings? I then followed up. It's basically a sportswear brand that they work with. They help them create content and they repurpose videos and so on for social. And it's basically a women's wear running brand. And effectively, they just feel like they're bringing lots of traffic and doing really cool things on social, but it sounds like they want to give some tips to the SEO or whoever is responsible for SEO to help once people get to the website. So it's more of, I'd say, a bit of a landing page conversion rate optimization question, but we can go for it. Who would like to kick off?
I'll just say something really quickly, I think. So I haven't seen the website, but in my opinion, it depends on what the person sells. You find out that a lot of Gen Zs now at times, they don't want to really go to the website. They just shop on TikTok, or it depends on what the person sells, like I said. But also, if you think it's a brand that people should shop on the website, maybe you think about how you can restructure your page for it to look really. I think we answered a similar question earlier, but just for you to have that synergy between your socials, because you have a lot of traffic, like you said, on your social media. So have that synergy between both pages. But like I said, it also depends. Work on your page, have the structured data. But also another thing you said was tracking. How do you track? If you can have the UTM parameters also to get people to click to your, when they click into your page, they actually understand. You actually know that they click from socials. But I think that it depends on what you sell. So it's possible that your markets just really like to shop on social media and they don't like to go to the website. But yeah, you can also do some work on your page and see how that can help you increase traffic. Just test it and see.
Great. Mordy, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I don't know how to say things quickly though. It's a problem.
It's fine. We've got 7 minutes, so you're good.
I'm just delaying the inevitable. No, don't tell me I have 7 minutes. I'll use up all 7 minutes. A lot of the times, it's a hard question to answer, like seeing the specific thing in question. But a lot of the time, what I see with brands is that there's a misalignment between social and then the website copy. So, or any kind of like outside of the website. Brands tend to think of their website copy as very transactional, and it usually doesn't align with the rest of the marketing. So we were talking about this yesterday before when we had a little sync. I was working with a brand. They were doing a lot of advertising on YouTube and on TV, actually. And the homepage didn't have any of the messaging, any of the USPs that they were talking about in the ad. So what people do is, let's say that, and Rand Fishkin talked about this a lot, people watch an ad, see something on social media, whatever it is, and then Google your brand and the thing, whatever it is. If they're going from an ad where you're targeting a certain messaging, a certain positioning, a certain USP, whatever it is, and then they go to the website and none of that is there, it's all the generic marketing conversion schlock that no one actually understands, it's all marketing jargon, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to bounce. Like what happened? You were one way on social, friends are very fun and engaging on social, and they go to the website, you see this in SaaS all the time, it's completely transactional. So there's an enormous disconnect that happens there. So that's one thing. The second thing is I question whether or not like they've given this enough time and how consistent they are, which is another thing to be concerned with. You have to be very consistent on social, and it takes a really long time, a year at least. The other thing is in terms of the traffic itself, again, it's not a one-to-one. Oh, I have lots of likes on social media, therefore Google will love me. Everybody loves me in social. Everyone loving you on social and everyone loving you in life are two different things. Everyone loves me on social. In real life, no one can tolerate me. Google loving you on social and loving you on Google are a little bit of two different things. I love you on social, but Google might not love you. But it's really more, again, about building up that brand presence, building up that digital presence, building up all that digital light to make it hard for Google to ignore you. Put it this way, why would they ignore you? If you're doing content that really resonates and now people are mentioning you, or people are talking about you and they're writing about you and they're blah, blah, blahing everything about you, why would Google, it wouldn't be in Google's best interest to ignore you at that point. I don't think. I don't work at Google, so I don't know.
Great, amazing. David, do you have anything to add or anything in the chat?
I have here Rob saying, I'm at a fix on how to convert social media traffic into engaged SEO-friendly visitors. He's asking why. And I think it's a good point because maybe the next step of that panel is not going to the site. Maybe there's a newsletter or maybe it's something else. Like we don't have to do that current way. For example, here, Francesca said the need and what kind of content you want, but I guess hugely, if you come via social or via search, both need different copy, different formats. And if the pages are not even optimized so far, I'll start with prioritizing getting the basics right first. And also what Mordy is just saying, adjust to the various channels, but stick to consistent branding, wording through, and everything Mordy is just saying. So she agrees with Mordy, actually.
Amazing.
Don't compliment me in public, by the way. It's like feeding the animal at the zoo.
Amazing. I'll very quickly just add, although this isn't really an SEO response, it's more, hopefully this will help. One thing I would do is just basically dig into your analytics and try and break down by things like devices, browsers, and so on, and just see if, for instance, there's some sort of issue. When I've worked with clients before and they've had conversion rate issues from, say, social media traffic, sometimes it's as simple as the Safari in the browser Safari in Facebook, for example, just doesn't work. And so if you can try and work out what the problem is in terms of what's happening to that traffic, I would do that. If they are getting to the website and they're just leaving, one thing that I've done before is just put up forms, just use something like Hotjar and ask people whether this was what you were looking for. Did this page answer your problem? Just try and get some feedback from those people that have landed and then gone. And then there are things like Microsoft Clarity, Hotjar, and lots of others, Full Story, where you can also watch people on your site and see what they do. So if they've come from social, you can see that the actions that they've taken, just to see if it follows a similar pattern. That doesn't help you from an SEO. I'm with Rob. I don't know why there would be this connection from an SEO perspective, but it sounds to me like you've got maybe an issue with a conversion issue there, and I would look at that. I had it with a client where they just were also just sending all their traffic to a random page. It was like a why them page, and that wasn't related to any of the campaigns. It was like the go-to URL to share, and so of course they were going to lose, that traffic because people had no reason to come in at that point. Okay, we are so over already, but I'm going to very quickly ask people the regular question. What are you most excited about in terms of SEO? Mordy, what are you most excited about in terms of SEO?
Oh, I have to be positive for a second. Hold on. I'm excited for the fact that I think people are starting to finally realize, wait a second, the fact that wait, is there anybody here who works with a niche website or any of the niche website SEO people? Because if you're here, oh no. Okay, my Twitter's going to get blown up with trolls now. I think those people are starting to realize, and I'm not saying there aren't people who are generally running good content and got hurt by the HCU and the blah, 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 but I think they're starting to realize the fact that their traffic might be down might be because they need to switch gears and think a little bit more holistically about their overall marketing and how they present themselves and how they integrate SEO into that whole process. So I'm excited to see that conversation starting to happen. I'm not excited to see my Twitter blow up after this, theoretically, with all sorts of people like Morty's an idiot who doesn't know anything. I have no sympathy for people.
No, it's all nice in office hours. You don't get any of that.
Okay, good.
It's fine. This is a nice, positive group. Don't worry.
Okay, yeah, I'm traumatized. Sorry.
Folashade, what are you most excited about in terms of SEO at the moment?
I'm just gonna be very niche, but I think the new trend obviously is AI, LLMs, how you can use machine learning to work better with SEO. The agentic AI seems quite interesting, so I'm quite interested in knowing more and seeing what happens later this year around that. So yeah, I think that's
amazing. David, are you excited about your niche websites? Is that I'm just joking. What are you most excited about in terms of SEO?
I'm excited about this afternoon because we have a meetup here in Barcelona from Search Barcelona. Joe is organizing it. So yeah, if you are in Barcelona, you're interested in SEO or AI, just come and join us.
Look at that. Joe's not even here, but she's here. Still talks about events. Okay, we'll finish there. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us today. Folashade, Mordy, thank you so much for being our special guests. David, thank you so much for co-hosting. Thank you to those that watched live. Thank you to those watching after on YouTube. And Preeti, I like the heart there. Thank you. And thank you to those that submitted questions. We're here every week. So if you've got an SEO question, you need help, go for it. Submit it on our website and we'll try and do our best. Have a lovely weekend, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.